Hey guys, this is Brink. This is going to be the mid lane video on warding and avoiding ganks. Warding and avoiding ganks is a critical aspect of mid lane as well. You definitely want to be able to position yourself correctly in your lane and not feed away your life to different support rotations or just tier rotations in general. You want to have the right wards for the situation and the right positioning for each situation as well. So when it comes to warding, I guess we'll start off with observer wards. So when placing observer wards in the mid lane, you want to think about what's going to be occurring in your lane for each different scenario. So if you have something like a Mirana on the enemy team going to be firing a lot of arrows at you, there's a few different spots that you might want to prioritize in your lane rather than just placing a general lane ward. So places like this spot just to the right of your Radiant tower, if you're on Radiant, will allow you to have more vision behind the tree line here, and if there's a bottom just camping you out there, you're going to have vision on her and be able to be ready for these arrows that could be incoming. Another spot for, possible Mirana camping in your mid lane is this spot just above your Radiant T1 tower. It gives you vision of your Ancients area here. This is another place where a lot of Miranas like to sit and throw arrows from. It's very important to have these wards on your side in these games, because if your enemy bottom is, arrowing you from the enemy side of the map, you're going to have more time to react than an arrow that would be coming through the tree line or something like that. So if you have these wards set up here, then you're going to be a lot more protected from, your side of the map, and you're just having to rely on your reaction time for the enemy side, which you'll have more time to react to. As for general observer wards in the mid lane, when you're not worrying too much about these camping supports or rotations, a few good ones are generally the same spot as the first one I told you about. It's still a good ward. It gives you vision of enemy high ground, your high ground behind your trees a little bit. It's a good ward to have, as well as an observer on the enemy hill. So if you have a support smoke and ward at the start of the game, or TP and ward, trying to get the wards on the enemy high ground across the river is very, very beneficial. So if you have a means of placing a ward without the enemy seeing, through like a smoke TP or anything like that, a good ward to place is around right here. The further back the ward is placed on their high ground, the less chance of it getting dewarded, as a lot of the support heroes in matchmaking just like to throw a sentry down in like the middle of the lane or something and hope that it gets it on one of the corners of the high ground or something. Placing it a bit further back here gives you a ton of vision. If you put it further enough towards the rune, you'll get rune vision as well, so you can cover a lot of different spots with a ward like this. Other than that, it's generally also pretty safe to throw it on your side of the high ground as Radiant. This is a place that's common for a lot of dire heroes to place an observer ward for their own benefit. It's essentially doing the same thing to your high ground as you're doing to the enemy high ground with the previous ward, only it's a lot more easier to place without getting seen. And you don't have to, smoke or TP or anything to place this one unless the enemy, had vision prior and they see you placing it. This ward can also just be placed from, behind the tree line here, so you're really a lot more protected when you're placing this ward rather than, wards across the river. And it still gives you a very, very good vision amount in nighttime and just in your general laning to help you lane against, a lot of different lane setups and support rotations, things like that. One last word to remember on Radiant, it doesn't directly benefit your lane, but it is very, very good to, see enemy junglers or support rotations, things like that throughout your games. It's this ward on the high ground here next to the Dire Ancients. It gives very, very good vision over the enemy jungle, so if the supports are rotating through there or setting up a smoke back there, you're going to be able to, catch a glimpse of them and be able to play accordingly in the situation. As for Dire, there's a lot of the same kind of wards coming out from the Dire. This ward that was placed on the Dire side when you were on Radiant also is a fine spot for an observer for the Dire. Allows you to have that rune vision. You do have high ground vision as well, so it's very, very good. As well as both the other wards placed on the Radiant side that were just on the mid lane high ground here are definitely very good vision spots for the Dire as well to, have good lane control and sight over enemy rotations. The other half of warding is obviously the sentry wards. Sentry wards are very key aspects of the mid lane when you're, thinking about certain matchups such as Weavers mid or Templar Assassin when you're playing Queen of Pain, something like that. or just general invis heroes ganking mid, like a bounty hunter or a Ricky. The sentry placement is very, very critical and something that you should definitely have a good grasp on. So there's a few different styles to place sentries in the mid lane to avoid these things. The first is placing it directly in the middle of your lane. There are a lot of people that like to place this ward. This ward gives, the maximum protection all around in your lane in general. But the only downfall about this ward is it's very, very easy for the enemy to deward it because it's probably the most common one that's placed. Alternatives that I personally find better is to place it on the center of my high ground. This way, if I'm standing near this point and they're dewarding by placing a sentry in the middle of the lane, then I'm probably going to have a lot easier of a time dewarding theirs quicker than they deward mine, as I'll be ready to place my sentry and they will have to find out where mine is placed after they place theirs. For some scenarios where you see the enemy supports have, a ton of sentry wards, they have like 3 sets of sentries and they're just going to continuously deward your sentry mid, you can place a very, very safe sentry here in your tree line on Radiant. Unfortunately, when you're playing Dire in the mid lane, you don't really have too many alternatives to your sentry placement other than higher on your, high ground, like further towards your tower, even under your tower range in some scenarios. If they're just going to continuously deward, it's some vision's better than no vision. As for this Radiant alternative, it's really, really nice advantage that the Radiant has. You can plant one in your tree line here. If you cut this tree in the center here, you'll actually be able to place a sentry there as well, and it will be, covered by the trees. So if the enemy places a sentry within range, you'll be able to deward theirs and they won't even get to see yours. So it's going to offer you some protection. Clearly, the radius of it is not as beneficial as a ward in the lane, in the middle of the lane or on your high ground or something like that. But some vision on invis heroes and rotations like that is better than no vision, of course. So if they're just going to continuously deward and you're not getting much help from your supports, not going to get any more sentry wards, then placing a very, very defensive sentry like this is definitely not out of the realm of possibilities. As for general ganks that aren't invis heroes, just avoiding ganks in general, it really comes down to your positioning. So if you're, Radiant mid lane, the enemy supports are positioned in their safe lane on the Dire, which is the top lane. If they're missing, a good way to position is on your high ground away from their side of the map. So whatever position the enemy supports are, whatever side of the map, you'll try to play towards the opposite side on your high ground to give you the maximum time to react to the gank once they show up. If they break smoke or something near you, you'll be able to fall straight into your tree line here. As for, aggro tries or offensive jungle or anything like that, you'll try to position on the opposite side again, so on the left side of the high ground on Radiant. But in doing so, you don't really have a tree line as much here. You'll just be able to fall into the little section of trees that are on the left side of your Radiant tower, which you can, eat your way out of, but you're still kind of trapped in that area. Whereas, if you're playing towards the right side of your high ground, you're going to have many different routes you can take once you enter the trees and be a lot safer. As for Dire, the same concept applies. Whatever side the enemy supports are going to be incoming from, or wherever the roamer was last seen, things like that, you're going to want to play on the opposite side to it. But on Dire, it kind of sucks a little bit more, as you don't really have trees to go into right away. So you're going to either have the opportunity to run back to your tower or book it back to your shrine, which is a little further distance, but the shrine is going to be able to heal you, of course. That applies for Radiant as well. You can dip back to your shrine. It's just really nice having the extra tree line on Radiant that's going to protect you for a longer period of time than Dire, where you're kind of stuck out in the middle of nowhere. Remember to be communicating with your team when your mid laner is missing. Try to prompt your team to call out when their lanes are missing, when the supports are missing, if they lost tabs on a roamer or anything like that, just so you can be ready. And also, if the enemies are off the map for a very long time and they're not applying pressure anywhere, it's a pretty safe bet that there's smoke towards you or something like that. So you don't have to completely rely on your teammates' calls, but it's definitely good to try to get the communication flowing between your team. Also, if you have a very hard lane matchup and they have a good roamer, or vice versa, you have a good way to apply pressure. Communicating with your team to have teleport scrolls ready is a very critical point. If enemy dives you and you have like an Omni Knight or a Dazzle TP and it saves you, you can definitely turn ganks around, and it's very beneficial to your team to be able to do so. So communicating for these teleport rotations to be ready, even for you to have a TP for other lanes, is definitely important for positioning for your whole team and just for you in the mid lane. that's about it when it comes to avoiding ganks and warding in the mid lane. If I missed anything, or if you have any ward spot suggestions or anything else, just put it in the comments below and I'll try to get to it. Thanks.